Welcome back in for another installment of the Salina Post Sports Friday Night Preview Show. We have reached the finale of the regular season. It's week number 8. One final chance for some teams to try to sneak into the playoffs, some teams to try to grab home field, and some teams to put themselves in a position to make a really deep run. It should be a fun night, and then, of course, we'll get into the playoff slate as we go. But for now, I'm Tyler Henry. I'm joined here by Devin Hanney. And Devin, I mean, it's all led up to this, right? Next week is when elimination football starts, but for a lot of teams, week number 8 really is critical to put yourself in a good spot before you head into the games that really start to matter.
There's some crazy matchups around the state of Kansas. I was just kind of looking all over the map, and there are a lot of games tonight that involves 2 undefeated teams playing for a district title, playing for home field advantage, playing for different things. It's just kind of fun to watch. And also you get the other end of it too. I mean, we have a game here not that far away that involves Bennington and Harrington. Neither one of them have won a game this year. Somebody's going to win their first game, and somebody out of those 2 teams will have a meaningful game playoff style next week instead of just giving Gifted a week 9 game and saying, congratulations, your season's over, move on to winter sports. But yeah, there's some matchups tonight, and we got a couple of here on Salina Post Sports tonight that'll be really, really good as well.
Yeah, 2 district championship games on Salina Post Sports. We'll get into that in just a bit. But first, let's take a quick look back to what happened last week. Salina Central took the first loss of their season, 48-21, at the hands of a really good Andover program. Salina South got their first win. They didn't just win, they dominated. It was 55-0 at halftime, 55-6 the final score in a victory over campus. Abilene took it to El Dorado, 56-14. Chapman got their first win of the season, 36-16 over Marysville. Southeast of Saline handled their business, 55-14 over Halstead. Ellsworth fought hard against Beloit, but stumbled at the hands of the Orange Trojans, 16-6. Sacred Heart kept it rolling, 41-0 over Harrington. Man, Minneapolis was in one of the better games last week, but they dropped their overtime contest against Russell, 37-36. And then down in 8-man, it was another 3-game sweep for our area schools. El Saline, a 50-0 win over Gossel. Solomon, a 44-20 win over Canton Galva. And Tesket, a winner by forfeit in a game that could not be played against Chase. Again, they have forfeited the remainder of their season. We do already have one final from this week's slate. On Thursday night, Little River beat Solomon 72-0. And Devin, that gives us a chance to kind of, stop it and collect ourselves a little bit with what to expect this week. Before we do, let's just take stock of where these teams are at, because right now, you look at the 12 teams that we cover in our area, 7 of them have 2 or fewer losses. Southeast of Saline is undefeated. Central, El Saline, and Tesket are all 1-loss teams. Abilene, Ellsworth, and Sacred Heart are all 2-loss teams. We had a bit of a down year in our area last season, but I've been really impressed across the board with what our area has done on the gridiron this year.
Yeah, kudos to players and coaches, administration. I mean, football, I think we can safely say, is back in central Kansas. And this has always been such a hotbed for football. Of course, it started, 20 years ago with South and Central pretty much playing for a state title every single year. Of course, Southeast had theirs in 2005 as well. But, man, it's just it's fun to watch teams win, and it's fun to watch good football. And that's what we've had this year.
Let's go ahead and get into the slate here for week number 5. Again, we will preview the 2 games that are district championship games coming up later tonight. But first and foremost, for Salina Central, they have got a really big game this evening, Devin. They're going to take on 5-2 Goddard. There is a massive, massive difference in 5A between going into the playoffs at 7-1 and going in at 6-2. And for Central, you certainly don't want to take a 2-game losing streak into the postseason.
Yeah, and right now with Salina Central, it's how are you going to respond from your first loss of the season? Are you going to come back? Are you going to make it a good outing tonight in Goddard, or is this loss going to affect you for some time? You hate to take a loss that late in the year, but if you're going to take a loss, you want to do it obviously in the regular season. Get a win tonight, go into that 5A bracket a week from tonight, and do some damage if you're the Mustangs.
The schedule will do no favors for Salina South. We've talked about that really throughout the course of the season, but as a reward for their first win of the year, they get the last undefeated team remaining in 7-0 Mays. That game does come at home, but that'll be a tough one for the Cougars. Meanwhile, Abilene at 5-2 against Wamego at 5-2. You got to think the Raiders are going to be favorites in that game, Devin, but Wamego has proven susceptible, maybe more so than in years past. This could be a statement game for Abilene to take into the playoffs.
This might be the most even these 2 teams have been. Even a couple of years ago when Abilene was really good, Wamego is that much better. Being played in Abilene tonight, it'll be interesting to watch this game and how it turns out. I think Abilene can score on Wamego, and I think this might be a high-scoring contest. We've seen Abilene in all kinds of crazy games this year. They played a 3-0 game. Then they turned around the next week, and it was over at halftime because they had 50-plus points at halftime. This Abilene team, I think it depends on them, really, what Cowboys team is going to show up tonight, because you're going to have to score points to hang with Wamego.
Speaking of teams that the schedule will not help out, Chapman at 1-6 is a reward for their first win. Well, now they get to play undefeated Rock Creek at 7-0. That game will be in Chapman tonight. Minneapolis trying to go 500. They can get back to 4-4 against 4-3 Phillipsburg. That game will be at Phillipsburg. We have two games that we'll get into a little bit more later in the show that will be for district titles. That is the number 1 ranked Southeast of Saline Trojans at 7-0. They are home tonight taking on 5-2 Ellsworth. And then how about this? Two teams that have kind of come from the ashes. Sacred Heart at 5-2, the best season for them since 2013 against Republic County at 6-1. This is currently and will be, regardless of what happens the rest of the year, the best team that Republic County has fielded in their existence as a school district. And then Devin, the fun does not stop down in 8-man. Boy, we have got a couple of bangers in 6 and 8-man tonight. Third-ranked El Saline at 6-1, taking on 5-2 Central Plains, and the Tesket Trojans, 5th-ranked in the state at 6-1, taking on 2nd-ranked Cunningham, also 6-1.
Yeah, that Tesket-Cunningham game in 6-man will be interesting. Cunningham has 1 loss this year. That was because they stepped up, I think it was in week 5, and played 8-man football. So that's the only loss that they've taken. This Wildcat team from Cunningham, they're good year in and year out. Tesket, though, they're good again this year, too. And 2 6-1 teams, as you said. The only loss for Tesket so far this year was to Ingalls in a game that they picked up last minute, went to Ingalls and played that game. So both of these losses to Cunningham and Tesket are very, very good quality opponents. It should be a battle tonight in Tesket.
The last game from our area has the biggest implications. It might also be the weirdest because you look at the way the districts shook out in Class 1A. You have 5-2 Stanton County who could be eliminated tonight. You have 4-3 Ellenwood who could be eliminated tonight. There will be a 1-win team going into the playoffs next week, and it will be either 0-7 Bennington or 0-7 Harrington. Those two play tonight. It's another game that will determine which team is eliminated and which team moves on, but one last gasp here for the Bulldogs. They were the victor in this game last year, and Devin, they can save their season and advance to a meaningful game, as you alluded to earlier, with a win tonight.
We've talked about these two teams, just the parallels of them through the last 2 years. Both of them were playing 8-man. Both of them, by a couple of students in enrollment, were elevated to 11-man in Class 1A. Both of them are going back to 8-man next year. So this little 2-year sabbatical that they've had with 11-man football, we'll see who can make the most of it. You said 0-7. I'm saying after tonight, 1-7, going to the playoffs, Tyler. I mean, one of these two teams, as you said, we'll find out tonight in Harrington who's going to have a meaningful game next week.
We certainly will. That is a look at last week's finals and this week's contests. We will step away. We'll take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll visit with Ryan Krajicek, the head coach of the Sacred Heart Knights, and talk about the turnaround that his program has experienced this year. That conversation when we return. It's the Salina Post Sports Friday Night Preview Show, and it's brought to you by Kansas Wesleyan University. Back here on the Salina Post Sports Friday Night Preview Show, presented by Kansas Wesleyan University, we are joined now by Sacred Heart head football coach Ryan Krajicek. Coach, first and foremost, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me.
So after years of, kind of laboring, this program of yours appears to have turned the corner. You guys are 5-2 with a chance to win a district title this Friday. What are some of the biggest things that you've seen that have helped lead to this turnaround?
Yeah, well, the kids, they're it's a great group of guys, really. They work hard in the off season, in the weight room. We have great leadership, and then we also have some great young kids pushing them. I mean, heck, I'll be on my plan periods in my weight room, just getting stuff ready, and I'll have a couple kids hop in and say, "Hey, we have a study hall. We wanted to come get a lift in. Is that okay?" And which of course it is, always. So the kids are working hard in the off season, even the ones that play basketball or track or golf or etc. So it really starts there, and then I had another interview earlier today, and they asked about, well, we're winning, so I'm sure practices are better, and really, and I told them no. I mean, we're winning because practice is good. We practice really hard, we stay focused, we have fun, the energy level's high, and all that leads to some good results.
One thing I know you and I have talked about in the past is continuity. This is the first time in 5 years that this program has had the same coaching staff, the same offense, the same defense, the same signals. I know it's a simple thing, but how much has that helped with the guys on Friday nights?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. My seniors, they had a different coach every single year dating back to 7th or 8th grade. So that's different lingo. If you're a listener and you never played football before, maybe you play, a simple running back dive, right? Some teams call it 32 dive. Some teams call it 86 blast. Some teams call it fullback trap, right? So they all have different languages. So the team coming in and having the exact same language, the vernacular is the same. We were able to go on day one and just get right to work instead of having to teach them something brand new. So that's been huge, And one more thing I'd like to add is having all the coaches in the building, in the school, and I don't think that was maybe something where the parents didn't really value it as much here. I'm talking a few years ago. And so we had some people outside of, I'm picking my words carefully, we had some people outside of the school that, it's different now where we have pretty much the entire staff that are here in the building at Sacred Heart and St. Mary's that see the kids every day. They work with the kids as students in the classroom. Coach Darrow teaches math. Coach Hines teaches history, so that makes a big difference as well.
You've got a lot of kids that have been, in some way or another, the heartbeat of this program. But Dom Matucci, you can just tell how much he means to this team. He has a dynamic of explosiveness that you just don't see a ton at this level. How crucial has getting him back and healthy been to this team's success?
Oh, huge. He's such a dynamic player. On defense, I think he's collected about every defensive stat you could possibly find. He doesn't have a pick six yet, but other than that, though, as far as forcing, getting takeaways, interceptions, forcing fumbles, sacks, TFLs, he's just all over on the field. I almost hate to label him as, he's our outside back or he's our free safety because it looks like he's playing everything. He's just all over the place. And he's very dynamic on offense as well as both a receiver and a runner and a lead blocker.
Well, and speaking of offense, the connection between Maddox Wells and Noah Hines has been undeniable. 12 touchdown link-ups between the two this season. Those two have been on the same page all year. It's got to be fun to coach a pair like that, right?
It is fun. It is very fun. They're great, two great kids. They're great leaders. They lead by example, and then they also motivate and help teach the young guys as well. They have such good chemistry and football IQ. I think that is huge. Coach Hines does a fantastic job coaching them both up. And, I'll draw up the plays. But so many times, so many of those great plays have been made by, Maddox maybe rolling out or extending the play out of the pocket, Noah tweaking his route, going different directions, and then they just find each other. So.
As someone who's covered Sacred Heart for, 6 or 7 years now, I think that the biggest change that I've noticed, this is a team that's been able to win shootouts in the past, but, we've seen you guys get grindy, low-scoring wins that maybe haven't been on the table in years past. Where have you seen the defense do the most growing this year?
Yeah, I think they're cohesive and they're very disciplined. Coach Darrow, Coach really all of us, all five of us, we're all hands on deck. We're all engaged. I might call the plays on offense, but even on defense, I'm just looking to help out whether it's just subbing kids in and out or just talking on the headset, so just having that full buy-in from the coaching staff, that trickles down to the kids, and the kids are buying in as well. I think the weight room has a big part of it as well. That's a priority in this program. Young kids and old kids alike, they're out there and they're contributing. We get a lot of guys in there. We don't just have, hey, here's our top 11, and that's our defense. We probably have 20 guys. We got 25 on the team. And we probably have 20 guys that'll play a full game for us that are going in and out almost every play. So, what can I say? It's just a great group of guys, and they're playing hard for us.
I know sometimes people can, maybe kind of get caught box score watching and not really, paying attention to what's happening. But there's a different energy to this year's Sacred Heart team. When these kids step on the field, you can tell they expect to win every single game that they step out there for. I was curious. I know that you don't really see the on-field results without some off-field stuff too. How have you seen the culture of football change around Sacred Heart in your time there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say I really appreciate you saying that, man. That's it means a lot. And as someone that before I was the head coach, I was an assistant for 4 years. For 4 years, I went through an 0-9 year. You know what I mean? So that means a lot for you saying that. I appreciate it. In the hallways, it's definitely been very positive. I even had there's a couple seniors that were on the fence that did end up not going out. And then, through the pipe, I hear, I regret not playing football. I wish I would have played. There's a couple seniors from last year's team that came up to me after our homecoming win against Sedgwick, and they said, "Man, I wish I would have played. I decided not to play my senior, but I wish I would have played." All that stuff's good to hear. And it's success breeds success, and we are not only a winning and a successful program, but we're a fun program to be a part of. And I want the fifth and sixth graders over at St. Mary's, the junior high kids here, I want them to be excited and a program that they want to be a part of. I remember when I was a little kid watching Dane Simino and Aaron Weedle and my older brothers Tyler and Alex winning 9, 10, 11 games every year. So that was easy. I saw all that success, and that was something that I wanted to be a part of, and that's what we want to do as well.
Well, and speaking of programs that have kind of come out of nowhere, and I'll leave you with this, Coach, but a big game coming up with Republic County this week. It'll be for a district title and home field in the playoffs. What stands out to you most when you watch the Buffaloes on film, and what will be your biggest keys to the game to keep things rolling here?
Yeah, Coach Jesse Hodgson, he's done a fantastic job up there in Belleville. He really has. Really, both our programs, us and them, we've gone through those winless seasons. They've had years where they were really young, maybe bitten by the injury bug, and they went through some rough times, and now they're playing great football. I can tell they play with a lot of fire and intensity. They're playing with a lot of confidence. They do a great job on special teams. I can tell they take pride in that. And they very and this is a compliment, but they're very opportunistic. They will they are right. Any kind of fumble, interception, any of those opportunities, if they're given the chance, they'll take it. So we have to play very smart, disciplined football, and then can't give anything up for them.
Well, Coach Krajicek, congratulations on the success your program has had this year. Best of luck to your Knights this evening.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Once again, that was Ryan Krajicek, head coach of the Sacred Heart Knights. We'll step away, but when we return, we'll get you ready for the broadcast you can tune in for across our Salina Post Sports Network right here on the Friday Night Preview Show presented by Kansas Wesleyan. Welcome back in here, a conversation with head coach Ryan Krajicek. It's great to hear from Coach and just kind of hear how that Sacred Heart team has been able to turn things around. Devin, we're going to talk about Sacred Heart here in just a moment, but it bears repeating. This is going to be the best team that Sacred Heart has fielded since 2013. This is a program we were talking about potentially dropping down to 8-man before the year began. It's been really impressive to see the way that they have righted that ship here in Salina.
Two teams from the NCAA, they play in the same league, although they avoid southeast of Saline. Just the way the schedule works out, decisions that are made, probably on both sides, to be honest with you. But these two teams tonight are not only playing for second place in the North Central Activities Association, they are also playing to win a district and to go into the playoffs with some positive momentum. Sacred Heart, they have won 5 in a row. Republic County, they come in at 6-1. I think both of these teams, they'll have a little bit of a complex. When they look at the mirror, they don't know how good they are because of their schedules, right? Sacred Heart comes in, their 5 wins are against teams that are a combined 8-27. Republic County, not much better. Their 6 wins are against teams that are a combined 9-33. They have not been tested that much. And I know you can't do anything about that. You can only line up against people on your schedule, beat that team, move on to the next week. But I think there is some little bit how good are we in both of these locker rooms. They're going to get a chance to show that tonight.
I think there's value in Sacred Heart's schedule in the games they played earlier this year against Ellsworth and Plainville. And they do have the only win between the two schools over a opponent with a winning record. Valley Heights comes in at 4-3 tonight. So a good chance for the Knights to go on the road and get something done. But Devin, this game also, you know how much it means to these two programs. Two schools that have really struggled on the football field for a long time, and now you've got an opportunity to claim a district title. And not only that, but you and I have talked a little bit about this throughout the year. Here's the difference between a win and a loss tonight, because either team will get home field advantage for the first round of the playoffs, but if you win, you get a 1-6 Whitewater Remington team that has not looked good against anybody in Class 1A. That is a very winnable game and a chance to go to the second round of the playoffs. If you lose, yes, you get to be at home, but you have to play Marion, who comes in at 5-2 in a loaded district. Remember, that's who Sacred Heart drew last year. That win is a 70-31 win for the Warriors. So it's not just about the accolades. It's not just about the district title. It's about staying away from one of the better teams in Class 1A that just happens to be in a loaded district.
And to look around the corner, I think the point is valid. It needs to be made when you look at roster size, when you get to 1A and 2A. This is a Marion team. They are 1A this year, but they are moving into 2A next year. They're going to have a bigger roster, and we know about Marion. I mean, they have 2 losses this year. They're both quality losses. I mean, this is a good football team in Marion County with the Warriors. You want to avoid them if you can. Like you said, it'd be one of those things that you're hosting a game and you have a team coming in that should beat you. So this game tonight between Sacred Heart and Republic County is very, very big.
And we'll have a broadcast of it. Nicholas Fierro will be on the call. You can tune in for that one right here on Salina Post or on the Salina Post YouTube page. Devin, it's not the only district title game we've got tonight. Southeast of Saline and Ellsworth. This has been, for the last 4 seasons, a game that will decide the league. It will decide the district. It will decide home field advantage for a majority of the playoffs. It's been fun to see these two come together, but for Ellsworth, you got to feel like they want to come out and have a better showing than they have in years past, because for as impressive as the accolades have looked on paper, Southeast of Saline has dominated this series. They've won the last 10 straight games over the Bearcats.
I feel like when you look at Ellsworth, they've taken a page out of Southeast of Saline's book in the fact that they have put a emphasis on off-season training, getting bigger, getting stronger, hitting the weights, and you can see that up and down their roster. They have some of these kids that are up 20, 25 pounds from a year ago. They make no secret about what they are willing to do and what they are able to do, and that is run the football. They will line up. Tucker Goss is a machine. He's over 200-pound running back. He is a challenge to tackle. When you look at Southeast of Saline, they may take about the same approach tonight. The weather being what it is today, they are on turf. It's going to be wet, though. And I think both coaches will tell you, and they have told us, that turnovers will be a key. It's a wet, slippery ball. If you can hang on to the ball, you're going to be in a lot better position to win this game tonight. You can't come out tonight and have turnovers and just look past them like they're not going to affect this game. They will affect this game here tonight. I'm looking forward to it since we've been in this cycle. Southeast of Saline and Ellsworth have been in the same district with same opponents for the last 4 years, as you said. It's always come down to week 8 between these two teams on who's going to win the league title.
And the most entertaining part is this game is going to feature, I would say, 2 of the best running backs in the state of Kansas, if not in 2A in the whole state. Tucker Goss this season, how about 179 carries for 14-24, 1,424 yards and 18 rushing touchdowns. Grady Gebhardt, 1,436 scrimmage yards and 27 total touchdowns thanks to his involvement in the passing game. It's going to be fun to cut the highlights at the end of the game regardless of what the final score looks like.
These two guys are going to run the football. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're both going to go over 100 yards. I have no doubt in my mind about that. Grady is much better in his scheme and what his team does in the receiving game. They have taken the screen game this year to the halfback and to the wide receivers and made it a completely different art form. Southeast of Saline is very dangerous to that. Ellsworth's going to have to stop that. Now, when you look at both these defenses, I think both these defenses are capable of stopping the run, or at least sustaining the run a little bit to where the other team is going to have to pass. That's where we're going to see 2 inexperienced quarterbacks go at it. Ellsworth has a sophomore quarterback, Southeast of Saline starting a junior that is only getting his second varsity start of his career. So you look at these 2 quarterbacks, and in the rain, a little bit of wind. We look at the weather tonight about 8 o'clock. It's supposed to get after it as far as raining. It's just kind of messing around until then. Of course, it's going to be wet, but the rain's really going to start coming down according to the weather about 8 o'clock tonight. Is it a close game an hour into this game when we start the second half, and who's going to be able to throw the football and make a difference in this game in the rain?
And to me, the difference might come down to Tierna Potacek. You look at what he's done so far this year, 28 for 40, 552 yards, 7 touchdowns to only 2 picks. Meanwhile, you've got Carson Jacobs, a sophomore. He's completing just 37% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. They have not needed to lean on him much, and if they do, we'll find out what he is really made of here tonight, and certainly into the playoffs, because as much as running the football is important in November, you can't win a lot of games in this state if you can't pass the ball. One last game coming up, and it'll come your way on Saturday. It is homecoming for the Kansas Wesleyan Coyotes. They will take on Sterling at 5 p.m. The CAD Law Countdown to Kickoff show begins at 4. Devin, it's a K-Dub team that's banged up, right? They lost their All-American running back to a torn ACL and MCL in week number 2. They lost their top wide receiver to a torn ACL and MCL in week 4. Their starting quarterback is playing on a torn MCL. They might have just lost one of their best edge rushers, and yet they should come out and stop Sterling in this game. It should be a fun one. If you can't make it out to the game, you'll want to tune in on KINA.
Yeah, and really the last weekend of sanity for you because basketball starts for Kansas Wesleyan on Friday on Halloween next week. So, crossover season. It will be real next week, but for now, you can enjoy a homecoming game with the Coyotes on Saturday here on KINA.
100%. Well, that is a look at the games you can tune in for here tonight, and then going into Saturday, that is it for the Salina Post Sports Friday Night Preview Show regular season edition. Of course, we'll be back breaking down all the playoff matchups that you can look forward to next week. But until then, I've been Tyler Henry. He's been Devin Hanney saying so long for now. The Salina Post Sports Friday Night Preview Show is presented by Kansas Wesleyan University.